You know you're live, right?
I know we are live. Yeah, we're live.
Hey, guess what?
It's a live version of this.
We're
show.
live.
We're doing live.
We'll do it live.
Okay, Bill.
Oh boy.
No, I don't need. I've got the sound clip. Don't tempt me with the good time.
Oh no. Adam, I apologize in advance.
For those of you that are audio listening to this after the fact, we are live for the first time here on the Comic Binge and on the Spideydude Radio Network for a episode of the Slott Symposium.
Posium.
Yes. Episode 6, The Revenge of the Spider Slayer, plus an extra .1 issue that we're covering tonight. But we're also going to make a little bit of a thing here at the beginning. We're not going to be reading the comments until towards the end of the episode. This is to just keep the episode flowing properly and for us to be able to talk about these issues. So
I can ignore them.
I mean, my ADD will not allow that.
That's
so
fair.
we got Paul.
Hi.
Paul?
I'm here.
And
I'm here. I am
our moderator, Adam.
Yes.
Paul is not dead. He is not McCartney. And
hello.
No, I'm not dead. So
Spideydude Experience in so long, buddy.
Bro, it's been life is nutty. I mean, I'm 3 issues behind Amazing, which is saying a lot for me. I was pretty good for like years of staying on that pretty consistently, and this lately I've just been like, life is nuts. So but yes, welcome to the Comic Binge as well, to the Spideydude Experience. So yeah, as Zach said, we're continuing our giant binge down the Dan Slott Spider-Man run. Which is there, guys? I have a question, or I can't really ask Adam because Adam hasn't read the whole thing, so I can't. So Adam, you're excluded, not because I don't love you, but because you haven't read the whole thing. But Zach, I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Oh God, okay.
You need to give. Why doesn't Dan Slott run have a name besides a run? Like there should be like you know what I mean? Like doesn't it have like what's this run like descriptive? Not like I'm not saying like it's a crap run, like not like that stuff. Like I'm talking about like if you're looking from a story-based standpoint, like what kind of like imprint has Dan Slott done on Spider-Man? Like what would you call his overall run?
The problem is that it's so long.
It is very long.
The best way to comparing it would be like Peter David's run on Hulk.
That's a great dude. That's actually he's the Peter David of Spider-Man to an extent. Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, like whether you like it or love it or hate it, I mean, I think that's a pretty. Because listen, I love Peter David. Oh, atta boy, Mike, dude. It's been a minute, dude. I've missed you. Zeb Wells. Yeah, right. You don't like Zeb Wells.
Joe Kelly, boy.
No, but I think, I don't want to go off on a tangent because I want to be here all night.
Yep.
Because I know also Adam hasn't read this. I haven't read the whole thing either. So I don't want to act like I haven't read the whole thing. Maybe you have read a bunch of it, Adam. I'm curious. Peter David's run is, for the most part, I would say immaculate. But there's some stinkers in there. There's some stinkers in there. Yeah. I would say and I haven't read all of Peter David's run, but the little bit I've read and where the direction he took the character at the very end, in my opinion, wasn't very good. And I would say, but I think just like Dan Slott, he probably stayed on way too long.
Yeah. Yeah, it was also, I think there was also some politics going on in the background too. With
I mean, aren't they always? So
yeah, especially his run. Yeah. I knew that. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot to get the cover for point.
No, good. I'll riff from here. So today we are talking about he said the Revenge of the Spider Slayers arc. I don't even know it. Here's what's so crazy is that if you look here, I'm not sure if you have the cover, but it says big time on it still. There's not like, unless it's inside and I just ignored it because I hate reading inserts, but like it doesn't say Revenge of the Spider Slayer. It almost feels like big time took over the you know, like the title, like, you know, I guess it's missing all here, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like, why don't you put like Revenge of the Spider Slayer Part 1? Like there is in my opinion, and this is like a commentary on mainstream superhero comics in general right now, put like old school, like blah 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 Part 1, you know, and I know they do that for some stuff, but like do it for every single like little mini arc or whatever, so people can say, hey, I can jump on this, or I can go, oh, it's Part 2 of whatever. I means I can go back to my back issue bin or whatever and pick up the Part 1. You know what I mean? Like do stuff like that, because that's more inviting to the reader. Again, going back to the, you know, you can't sell a book by its cover, or judge a book by its cover. You can't sell. You're right, but you can sell a book by its cover, and with comic books, selling your cover is like doing like 50% of the battle, in my opinion. So, if not more.
Well,
so,
and the thing you asked about Dan Slott a minute ago, the problem with his run is you have the Brand New Day era, the Big Time era, which I would take up till 700 or 600 or 700, excuse me, and then Superior era, post Superior, and then Volume 4, 3 and 4.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of where I kind of look at it, and it's kind of hard for me to be like, it's just the Dan Slott run. It just makes it, you know, easy to kind of compartmentalize it. But like right now, we're fully in, like, this is Dan Slott, you know, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. He is in control at this point.
He is in firm. That's a well said thing here. So we get the return. The official return, we had it teased in previous issues leading up to this, and Alistair Smythe. Now again, there is a dark period of Spider-Man that I have not read, and that's pretty much since like Peter Parker returning from Spider-Man from Ben Reilly to like through the Byrne era, like up until JMS. I've read JMS. I'm pretty caught up on JMS all the way to current. So I say all this because is the last time we saw Smythe with Michelini and Bagley back in the 90s?
No, he made an appearance in the latter part of the Mackie Byrne era.
See but
that's right. Yeah,
I don't understand the Mackie Byrne era. I'm almost afraid to go down that road. I know I will eventually, but good God.
I am in my read through right now, Paul. I am literally in the post Clone Saga pre-reboot era, and I've almost finished that. I'm almost to like where the reboot is, and I'm like, oh, not looking forward to this.
I haven't read it, but like I just don't understand. Is it like a reboot? Is it like is it like they're trying to read? Like it's so confusing. So
it was
intended to be a reboot. It was intended to be a reboot.
Right.
Why he wrote chapter 1 and all that shit.
But they got rid of chapter 1 pretty quickly after the reboot started, right?
It was pretty much 18 months in, and he was once Byrne left, then they basically started ignoring, like when Jenkins comes in, because Jenkins has talked about this. He asked, do I need to acknowledge chapter 1? They're like, no. Just
interesting.
So
chapter 1 is kind of like a weird retelling, essentially.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh God, it's so confusing.
Where it was basically his attempt at streamlining the same way he did
Superman, Man of Steel. Yeah. Okay, so Smythe hasn't, but is that so? Here's my question though: is that Smythe appearance for the reboot chapter 1, or is it actually post Byrne leaving?
It's post Byrne leaving.
Okay, so the only time, so we have him returning with Michelini and Bagley in the 90s, right? Early 90s.
Yep.
Then later 90s, early 2000s ish.
Yep.
Okay, he shows up for a blip and then he comes back for this.
Yes.
Okay. What is significant about the appearance? Because I haven't read it.
The only thing that
Larson drew it.
Larson drew it, number 1.
Oh, Larson. Oh,
yeah.
No shit. Okay.
But it wasn't good Larson. It was I'm phoning it in Larson.
Okay.
It's fine.
But it also
Style hasn't changed that much.
I know what as a Savage Dragon fan, or the early Savage Dragon fan, and as Larson is my favorite artist growing up as a kid. I know exactly what Zach's talking about. I know exactly what he's talking about.
So the only notable thing was, at the end of the Revenge of the Spider Slayers in the 90s, Smythe was confined to the wheelchair. He was in the hover chair.
Right.
He is not in the hover chair anymore as of the Larson thing. Basically, he cured himself of his paralysis.
And that makes that track, because I didn't even know that existed. And so when we read this, I'm not sure if we have a picture of Smythe in there somewhere. It's okay if you don't. But I just assumed like he makes Spider Slayers. He can make himself walk. I mean, that's kind of like the problem when you have these characters like Professor Xavier was always kind of like, well, he's just, whatever, like he's telepathic, but he has, I always thought he was in a wheelchair because his mind was so powerful, his legs could like not stand, like the power of the presence of his mind, maybe,
Yeah.
But whatever.
You also had the brief appearance in between during the Ben Reilly Cyber War era. I forget.
He's in that?
Yes, he was in Virtual Mortality and Cyber War. The Cyber War was between him and Lady Octopus.
Oh God.
Yeah.
No. Talk about dark days, bro. Damn,
Dude,
that story sucked ass.
I can't even defend that shit, man.
Yeah. Okay.
Like as the Clone Saga guy, I can't defend Cyber War.
That's fair. Okay. All right. So here we go.
Here's the picture.
Nice.
We got the left.
This is great. Thank you, by the way. This is great.
I stole this from the internet.
Hey, no. Hey, the fact you got it was great. So, by the way, I actually dig both versions. I actually like that costume.
Me too. I want the Marvel Legend. I need to get the 2-pack, but the 2-pack has now gotten to be so expensive that they did.
I might be out on toys forever, man. I'm not sure. We'll see. It's getting ridiculous. All right. Before we get too many sidetracks here, we gotta go straight to the source here before we get into our rereads here. Yeah. I want to go to Adam, because as someone who's reading the Dan Slott era for the first time as we go, and someone whose opinion I respect dearly, I'm very curious, as always, where Adam sits with Dan Slott and with the issues we're reading so far. So, Adam, take me with you initially. And by the way, we all know I hate recaps. We're not doing any recaps, spoiler alerts.
Yeah.
Spider Slayers come, they beat up, the Avengers show up, they beat up people. Someone dies. We'll talk about it later. Adam,
he wants revenge against Jameson and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Thing.
Go ahead. Give us your
standard stuff.
Yeah, standard stuff.
I mean,
your thing.
I think this arc was all right. Like it's standard stuff. We've talked about this before. It's kind of Slott's thing. It's almost sort of
do you want to throw some
Bronze
issues,
Age-y, but it's got like some modern darkness to it. Like there's violence in it. Like it's almost a Bronze Age comic, but then you have like people getting heinously, viciously murdered. So
Ooh, I like
the art's good.
That's a good.
I do want to say about the art though. Like I like this art, but it's funny that I don't really have a problem with when artists draw characters all kind of looking the same, but I feel like Stefano Caselli draws Peter Parker, John Jameson, and Phil Urich all basically the same. They all look like the same guy. Like they have the same haircut and everything, and it's like, all right.
It gets better as he progresses with the character, but it's very noticeable here.
But it's good art anyway, and I mean, it's a fine story, I guess. I don't know.
Let me ask you this: as someone who is around, not talking about Zach, but whom I'm about to speak, around certain demographic of people that may dislike Dan Slott a lot and his run a lot. How, like, as we're reading this, and we'll just isolate this arc specifically. Do you think that you see more of their side or more like my side of like enjoying, or are you strictly right in the middle still, kind of like where as right now with this arc?
Probably the middle, because I can see why people like this stuff. I think I can see why people don't like it. I feel like why people don't like it is how the characters sound. Because I feel like
okay,
to me, like there is something about how Slott writes the characters that's maybe a little, it feels familiar, but it feels different from, it feels modern in a way that is not some people's classic idea of how these characters are. You know what I mean?
No, I definitely feel that way.
Because I feel like Peter is the big example, because he's the main guy, and it's like he sometimes his Peter just seems, it doesn't seem like the guy from maybe 20 years before this. Like he seems a little too
immature,
immature, slackery maybe, or like not maybe slackery, but just kind of like,
but that's editorial though.
Parker, yeah. But Slott is still right. Slott is still giving
but
the
he has
characters
to
this voice. Well, but I feel like you can do it in a way that's maybe that doesn't make him seem like
that's
such
fair. I'll give you that.
That makes him seem like his age, like, because sometimes it feels like he's, I mean, he's supposed to be at least like 25, which is still young, but I mean, he probably should be close to 30.
I agree. I agree with that. Yeah.
Because he's basically like forever 25 now, and it's like, I mean, I don't know.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh at the Forever 25, because I'm thinking that Forever 21 is about to go out of business. It just made me laugh.
Rest in peace.
R.I.P.
I don't know. I think like, because you go back in the annals of Spider-Man history, and he's always like kind of seemed, a bit more mature, I think, like, or at least not as like, I don't know, jokey. I mean, he's jokey, but like there's just something about it that seems a little too loose, too like irreverent or something. I don't know.
He seems very cavalier, especially in this arc. At least to me. And I think that the immaturity really sticks out, because that's part, and I agree with you, Paul. It is editorial driven, but it's still like kind of like it sticks out to me.
This is good conversation, actually. I think we're getting at the heart of where a lot of people don't like the Dan Slott interpretation. And I think it also stems, like we talked about, from Brand New Day to, from Slott to editorial, because that to me, but I also agree with what Adam said. And I'll get into more of my thoughts on this with my overall thoughts of reading it then and then reading it now and comparison. But I definitely understand, like, you do a good job of explaining that, because I can't blame all that on Slott regardless. I just can't. He takes some of the blame, but you can't be like, Dan Slott's the worst because he did this. It's like, no, you got to blame Marvel in general.
And I wouldn't say like he's the worst.
No, I'm not saying you, Adam,
but just like, well, just to like, put it out there. Like, I'm not saying like this is like, oh, the worst thing. Like, I mean, I get why people like this. I especially get why people like this if this is like your intro to the character, because we're all going to have the stuff that we grew up with. And it's like, oh, I have fond memories of this. Even, I mean, I remember, I sometimes think back to like reading, I don't know, volume 3 of his run when he started that, and it was like, oh, I kind of miss those days now, sort of.
Don't know what you got till it's gone.
I think back to volume 5 when that started. It's like, oh, I missed that too.
Yep. All right, Zach, man. So you were on a we'll just say a different show at one point.
That other show.
The other show. That very much disliked this era, and every time I listened to it, it was just like, but I don't want to talk about them. I want to talk about us because I'm selfish. I want to talk about us.
Okay.
I want to hear your initial thoughts reading it then, and you don't have to tell me what your grade was then or anything like that. I just want to know what you remember thinking about, if you can.
I intended on going back to see if I was on the episodes talking about this, and I didn't get a chance to.
It's all good. But do you remember and compare it to now? I'm curious.
The things that stuck out to me back then bother me significantly less than they do now. Now they bother me less now than they did then.
Sure.
Every time Marla shows up, she has to mention that she made Spider Slayers.
To be honest, I'm glad she did, because I kind of always forget she does. I'm like, oh yeah, it's right, she did.
It was fine here. It gets annoying the longer it goes on, though. Like, to me, it made sense here, but it reminded me, and I was like, oh no. The Carly Cooper roller derby thing.
Yeah.
The scene.
I don't know about that. That's kind of
the scene with MJ and Peter in the roller derby.
Peter's not roller derby, I don't know.
It's so try hard. And it really, it's indicative of when people talked about the Carly Hammer. That's the set of scenes that I would say absolutely brings up the point about why people disliked Carly Cooper. I'm not seeing this with Shay to compare it to like a modern day thing, because I kind of feel like this is Joe Kelly's arc now is the big time, like kind of redux. Sort of. There's a lot of
people are saying this. Yes.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of similarities between the two. So rereading this, just the MJ scene was awkward. I know it's intended to be, but it just did not feel organic at all. It felt like we're trying really hard to push Carly on people to make her the girl.
Mm-hmm.
Even with MJ's internal thoughts, and this goes to what you were saying, Adam, like MJ's thought bubbles in this was just not MJ at all. None of it sounded like Mary Jane. And so that annoyed me.
It reminds me too of like, we talked last episode, the whole, that scene when, Mary Jane is overhearing, she's listening to Peter and Carly talk, and they do the thing where it's like, oh, stuff MJ wouldn't understand, blah blah blah, and and it's like,
yeah, it's more of that. And I think that not reading it and reviewing it monthly, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it also, I can kind of look at these more as snapshots, because of how infrequent we're doing this, which is actually, I think, a better thing long term than it is if we were just doing the same thing back then. But yeah, it's he never, in my opinion, got MJ down throughout this specific era. It felt like every time he wrote Mary Jane, she just seemed off. She didn't seem like Mary Jane. And
here, hold on really quick. I just want to interject just really quick. This is my Emperor Palpatine voice. Ironic. So anyway. If you get what I'm saying there.
Right.
What funny, Dan Slott doesn't write MJ well, considering what's going on. So anyway, continue.
Yeah. Are we talking about the symbiote thing?
Well, no. I'm talking about like just from Brand New Day to get rid of the marriage, and like Dan Slott can't write Mary Jane.
He just can't. I mean, he just can't.
Can I?
You can write like a version of Mary Jane that's like maybe sort of similar to the Silver Age. Well,
he did a good job. He did a good job with Mary Jane and Renew Your Vows. He does do that. I thought he wrote well. He wrote her well.
That's a fair point.
later on.
We'll get to that way later. I'm interested. I kind of can't wait to get to that.
Yeah, this right now, he can't write Mary Jane. And I think it's because they can't figure out what to do with Mary Jane. But the fans are demanding Mary Jane be back in the book. And so I think it's kind of a situation where they don't know what to do with her.
The eternal struggle.
Right.
Yeah, you know, I have a lot to say about some of that stuff here in a second, but I want to give you your but you're eating, so I don't know if I should have you continue or
I just finished my Starburst.
Okay, I know. Why are you eating a Starburst while you're talking?
I don't know.
Zach, what am I gonna do with you?
Listen, I had to cut out sodas this week, and I'm trying to stay awake. Okay, I had to pass a kidney stone.
You should be awake then. You should be like, we should be freshed up, ready to go after passing a kidney stone, homie. Come on. You should be like, I'm ready to podcast, mother effer. Let's do this. So
I'm still in the process of passing it. That's the problem.
Oh God. You should be really awake then. You're just like, I'm gonna pass this thing and pass out. I'm sorry. I keep interrupting. I'm sorry. I'm out of control.
No,
today.
so like I say, I think Smythe being brought back in is always the interactions with Jonah, it almost borderlines into caricature, but by the end of the arc, I feel like we're getting the modern day Jonah that I like.
That's fair. Yeah.
This is like the kind of the stepping stone towards that modern Jonah. And where when, spoiler alert, Marla dies, she tells him, don't blame Spider-Man. Don't go back to your old vices. And
that is a good scene.
It's a beautiful, the artwork to me is really good. Stefano Caselli, I enjoyed him and Slott working together on Avengers Initiative. And
that's where he was from. I kept being like, who is this guy from? I recognize his art. That okay, that makes sense.
They worked together on Avengers Initiative. And I think he works in this capacity on Spider-Man. I don't think he could do like a 12-issue run because he had to have fill-ins during Initiative because his artwork is so detailed. But I really, like I say, this is still kind of early for him getting the Spider-Man groove on. But I really liked the other thing that really annoys me about this arc is the Avengers have to bail him out again. And it's just like,
come on.
My annoyance is that I'm fine with the Avengers showing up, but this is now the second consecutive arc that we've had the Avengers show up. And it's like, I kind of want Spider-Man to be the star of his own book.
Hold on a second. When did they show up in the last one? I'm just being real. I'm like, what? I totally forgot what's happened in the last episode.
In the initial big time arc, the whole
thing.
Yeah.
They show up to help out.
Yeah.
They help out against Hobgoblin, right?
Yeah. And so it's like it becomes this kind of meme where Peter has to be bailed out by everybody else, and he can't handle his problems on his own. And so it's a little more egregious later on down the road, but like I kind of see it here. It's more of an assist here. Peter is still kind of in control. The Max Modell relationship I think is good here. Rereading it now, I'm like, oh yeah, it annoyed me before, so it's significantly less annoyed me here. Because the explanation didn't seem like a cop-out, which I appreciate rereading it.
Man, you're giving me lots of ammunition here. Keep going. If you're
the Spider Sense thing, I forgot it was done this early. To be honest, I don't love it.
Yeah,
because it ties Peter's arm behind his back, and what makes it, what makes him special. So it's kind of one of those things where I'm like,
change the covers on this, homie. Come on, we're getting the same cover. Let's get some variety in this mother. I don't have to change every 5 seconds, but sorry, I'm not in control. Otherwise, I'd do it.
Oh no! But by the time we got here, I also like that Scorpion's back as
Yeah, I
Scorpion.
like seeing Scorpion.
Yeah, agreed. That was nice.
It was fine that he was Venom for a while, but him being back as Scorpion, I'm like, okay, thank you.
Which,
Like,
by the way, let's save the Venom issue for last for everybody. So let's just so focus on these issues. But yeah, continue.
and then the backup stories felt like they were stories.
Oh yeah, I kind of skimmed through them a little bit.
Well, just to mention them, they felt like they were stories that were for Amazing Spider-Man Extra, and they threw them in there in the back because they had them in the inventory pile and they just were throwing them out there.
Mhm.
I didn't even know there was a new power. I forgot that there was a new Power Man that was being mentored by Iron Fist.
God, yeah, 3D Man now, Power Man,
yeah, and so didn't care.
It's to be a backup like that is so tough. I mean, you have to have like just a really like fluid story where it's just like it's not, there's no pace, or the pacing's just so quick and interesting, and the characters have to really grab you, and you have to maintain that for multiple months in a row is tough.
The good news about this was that it came out, weekly, right? 3 weeks in a row. Or twice a month, and then we're covered 2 months now. But it's one of those things where I've talked about this like with Tom DeFalco. It's writing 6-page stories is very hard, going into what you're saying there, Paul. And I don't know if Van Lente originally wrote this story as anything more than a one shot that he had chopped
they chopped it up. Which again is that's why I said like it's tough, but to be honest, it wasn't part of the main story for the most part, so I was like, let's skip. So
now the Venom backup in the third issue directly leads into our point 1 issue, so that one actually is worth reading.
I just skimmed it because I'm like, and then I was like, oh yeah, but then but to be honest, we'll wait but this issue got me caught up to everything I needed to know anyway. So I was like, it's just like the other one was more of a tease, but
true.
So are you done? Are you done yet with
the next thing I want to talk about is actually more to do with the Venom stuff. So
so we'll save that for a second. So would you would say you enjoyed it more this time then?
A little bit more, yeah.
Not like okay, sorry.
It's an incremental better. I would say it's from a C+ to a B- for me. Yeah,
I think, to be honest, I think that's a fair grade on this because I think it's pretty inconsistent. Go ahead.
Like I can agree with that. I like the third issue of these, probably the best.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but it's like, I don't know, it feels like stuff is happening though, and we're not really getting strung along by anything, so that's kind of nice, like
it's nice. It's pretty well paced. I mean, when Slott does 3-issue arcs, I feel like that it's a fairly well paced story.
I think, to be honest, plotting and pacing is actually one of his strengths. I would say his dialogue and his characterization isn't always great.
Sure.
And that to me is his weakness. And so when he gets a character, he can knock it out of the park. And I think he gets Spider-Man. But I think I've read too many of his stuff where I'm like, what the hell? Like Fantastic Four, I lasted like 10 issues. After I got through his Thing versus Hulk fight and he had the Thing beat Hulk, I'm like, F off, dude. Don't even get me started. I was so pissed.
That is purely his fanboyness coming out because he's such a Thing fan.
Oh, the Thing, shut the hell up, Slott. Don't even give me that crap. Like, I do. I argue with this guy online when it happened. He was like trying to be like, this article said this. I'm like, yeah, you read articles. I read comics. Get the hell out of here. So like, this is anyway. So he's like, well, this article said that you did this. I'm like, shut up. I'm like, just read your comics, dude. Like, majority of the time, like 90% of the time, the Thing gets his A rung by the Hulk, except if he's gray Or it was like, oh, you got him really this one time, but then like something intervened, and I was like, shut the hell up. Like,
yeah,
if
it's pure Hulk versus pure Thing,
it
sorry,
ain't, yeah,
close.
It ain't close. Hulk will destroy him. That's kind of the beauty of their battle, is that the Thing's always he's the underdog.
Yeah.
So the fact he's even surviving is actually saying something. So the fact that he knocks him out and then like so he can go like become Thing and bang his wife to have kids, it's like it's a whole Don't even get me started on that thing. It's a whole thing. Anyway, okay. I think I'll read his arc one day because I do want to give it a fair shot because I do like Dan Slott as a writer. I'm being very heavily critical right here.
Yeah.
But it's because I'm a huge Hulk versus Thing fan, and that just irked me. Anyway, I think a B- is a really good accurate score on this. I would say reading this, I can understand better now. Excuse me. People being irritated at Carly Cooper because the way Slott writes Cooper and Peter together just ain't working. When I read this, I was like, yo, this is rough. And you want to be like, you want to buy this character into, being close to Peter. I just don't buy it, and maybe I think I bought it more then than I do now.
Yeah.
So I got to give people who are anti Carly Cooper people a little bit of a, not kudos, but a little bit of a credit. I see more now, especially in these issues, how Carly Cooper just ain't work. It's like with her and MJ, and I'm like, this is not.
Like
this is bad.
It was like almost Archie, Betty Veronica type. It's just like, no, that's not. Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
Like maybe
weird.
other than editorial, but like nobody I know wants a Gwen MJ redux of the 60s. Like
now,
grown past those.
Now, Subpoint, I do like what Spencer did with Carly Cooper and Mary Jane in his run a lot.
Yeah.
So without this crap, I wouldn't get that good stuff. So I'm like, well, maybe it was actually worth it. So I'm just gonna throw it out there. Like,
yeah.
This is what a good writer can do, like Nick Spencer, and take something that didn't really work. Because this is why I'm gonna also push back on people who think Carly Cooper is crap, because I don't believe that. I actually like Carly Cooper as a character, even in Dan Slott's run and what she has, and I like the idea of her character and everything. I just didn't like her and Peter together. I was actually very happy when they broke up. I was like, okay, I know they were not happy, but I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, we move on.
To me, she is a fine supporting character. She is not a good love interest for Peter.
Absolutely,
for various reasons.
It's like Deb Whitman, or not? What was her name?
Deb Whitman.
Deb Whitman. Like,
that was Ironwood.
Yeah, like those aren't like this is. I mean, Deb Whitman was a fine character by herself, but as a love interest with Peter, it's like oh, Peter just ignores me. It's like, God, dude,
she becomes a freaking psycho when she suddenly becomes a love interest, and it's like, no.
Yeah, that's called men not knowing how to write female characters in the 70s. So that's basically what that comes down
to dovetail off that. That's one of my biggest criticisms of Slott as a writer, is that he does not do female characters well. And
I used to defend Slott a little bit about that for a little bit, but after reading this arc, I'm like, there might be something to that. So, I mean, and I don't think he's like, just if a character is the female persuasion and he just writes them like terribly, I don't think it's that intense, but I think there's a flaw here that he doesn't know what. I don't think he knows without clear direction.
Yeah,
I think it's hard for him to get characterization of women very well. And I don't know if that's just what that is, but because I think that what's her name? The little person that auto dates. Anne-Marie, she's a great character, I think.
Yeah.
Like I do think she's a good character. And I don't think she's I think he writes her pretty decent, but that's also his creation. So I mean,
when it's your OC, I feel like I think they feel like that they have a little more latitude when it's an OC.
Yeah. but I think just also knowing how they talk, and Mary Jane does not seem like Mary Jane completely. I don't know. Like I will say that his dialogue is not always, unless they're a complete like caricature, like a Jonah or like someone like that.
Yeah.
His dialogue tends to be if it's like you're overly serious or you're extremely jokey. It's like they're always they're never like the middle ground. It's like it's always like turned up pretty high.
It's the Spinal Tap of dialogue.
That's been more of my realization over the last couple of months or the last year of us doing this, which has been I'm really glad, because again, as someone who likes Dan Slott's run and still do, I see the flaws a little bit better now, and I'm like, okay, I still think it's our fun stories, and that's ultimately what I'm here for. But I do see like it does get irritating after a while. So yeah, so watching or reading these issues, the Revenge of the Spider Slayers or whatever, it was cool getting like Slott continuity and saying like, okay, I'm going to grab these different connections with Jonah, like the Fly, whatever the version that was the Fly or whatever. I'm gonna forget what it was.
Human
Fly,
the Human Fly.
Human Fly, yeah. And then you got Scorpion, Spider Slayer. You get all like, I love that idea and getting them all against Jonah, and I love seeing Smythe back, and like that was cool. And I will push back on the Avengers thing, because there's a couple, you got to remember during this time, Avengers was just blowing the F up.
That's true.
And he's an Avenger.
Yeah.
And you're going to use, if he's going to be in the title, you got to use the other, you got to, you know what I mean?
Yeah. True. He was into Avengers at this time with Bendis and Emmerman. I think that was the Bendis Emmerman.
Yeah. And by the way, that lineup is one of the worst Avengers lineups of all time.
Yeah, it's
what the F is the thing in there? Get the hell out of here!
Why is Thing there? And what? Okay, I never bought Luke Cage as the leader of the Avengers. I just never did. Like, and it's nothing against Luke Cage. To me, I buy him as the leader of the Defenders, but not the Avengers.
What's the difference? This is a name.
Well, the Defenders would be more street level.
But that's what we think now because of the show. The show didn't come out yet, so we don't have that as a pretense.
Okay, you're probably
right. And
right.
the Defenders were like what? Silver Surfer, Doctor Strange, Hulk, basically originally.
But to your point, though, by the way, I think that they are tragically under not utilizing a great brand like the Defenders as street level characters, to a detriment, in my opinion, because I think that's a great idea, and they could really do some cool stuff with that, with some street level characters, and really go deep into that. But they're not. And I'm not saying you have to have Daredevil in it. Just get a bunch of B-listers and make him better.
Yeah,
I may have my own pitch for that one day in the 20 years when that ever happens. But just saying, Marvel, it's not going to happen. But I could write a script like that. I got a pitch ready to go.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, and maybe, talking about Born Again for a second, I'm hoping we'll see more of the Defenders in season 2.
I hope so. I mean,
I know we're seeing Jessica Jones at least. So
yeah. Wrapping up on my thoughts. Yeah, I think a B- on this arc is it's pretty accurate. The art's pretty good. The ending's pretty tragic. It's a bummer. The one thing that I don't understand the criticism of is I really liked Horizon Labs, and I really like that idea of Peter working for Horizon Labs and having what's his name? I always forget his name. The head guy with the ponytail. Max. Yeah, Max.
Ponytail. That's funny.
Ponytail man. I think that was a really cool dynamic, and I still think he definitely took it in directions that were ridiculous. And at times I'm like, okay, this is like a little too much.
Well, look, and to give credit to John Byrne, Tricorp was basically Horizon Labs 1.0. In the Mackie Byrne reboot, it was a weird idea then, but I think it's much better executed with Slott, because I think when Slott's writing OCs, I just feel like he does better with them.
I agree. I think on the money on that. So, you know, I here's what I'm going to say. Like, I think that this is pretty solid. Again, art's good. Pushing narrative forward. I think Adam, you said it best. I think you said like, this is, you know, it's nice. It's wrapped up. It's not overly, you know, it's not hitting us over the head, but he is building. And again, this is what I would say is Slott's strength is he's great at pacing. He's great at plotting, and he's great at pushing his narratives forward and his storylines forward without being ridiculous. So far reading I've thought that before. And as I reread this with you guys, it's only been cemented in my opinion that I think that is, and let's be real, like that's like 60-70% of like your job. You know, dialogue is one thing, but I can forgive bad dialogue for a good overall story that I like. Because listen, I read a lot of crap in the 90s. Enough said. So, you know, I mean, it just I've read a lot of crap comics, period, regardless. So I know when dialogue is so bad that I can't move on because I've seen it where it's both bad writing or bad plotting, but story structure and bad dialogue. I've seen, you know, in this case, not the most consistent dialogue, but good pacing, good story. And it trust me, with good art makes up for 98% of the bad dialogue. So anyway, I enjoyed this. I don't think I think it's about where I thought it was then, but maybe I like it a little bit less because I see the flaws of like Carly and some of the other things in there a little bit more. But for the most part, I definitely enjoy it.
Yeah, it is wild to me to dovetail off Brian Brewster's comment here. He said he can't believe Slott's run hasn't been collected in omnibus. The Superior Spider-Man has, but not this run, which I think is kind of bonkers because I think this would probably take 2 omnibuses to collect everything, basically from here to 700. Or no, you could probably get that. It's 50 issues, so plus
that's maybe like 1 omnibus, potentially.
Yeah, like a Dan Slott big time omnibus should happen. You know, to me, as they start recollecting, and we're kind of getting to the point now where
we're basically getting creator runs for Spider-Man omnibuses.
Yeah, which is you know, we're getting the DeMatteis omnibus. We got that the Mike Ringo, Todd Dazago Ringo trade paperback a few years ago that gets like all that sensational era stuff. Well, almost all the sensational era. There's like 3 issues that didn't collect. And you know, we're getting web now finally getting collected, like a lot of those web issues.
Spectacular.
Yeah, we're getting to the, you know, if we can get the second DeMatteis run, that would be fantastic. And then, you know, to me, the Peter Parker Howard Mackie run would be freaking great to get collected as well, and that would kind of fill the holes. I mean, because that's really the only holes is web and latter parts of, you know, really the 2/3 of freaking Peter Parker Spider-Man Volume 1. I think that desperately need to be collected. I mean, there's a lot of Tom Lyle stuff with Mackie that hasn't been collected. Obviously, all the Clone Saga stuff got collected, but like the post Clone Saga stuff. So I'm hoping, you know, for all that as well. But yeah, to jump into, I guess, the next issue, because the next issue is definitely a separate thing. Is the Venom stuff. We had the backup here, and then we get into this 0.1 issue where we kind of get this new Venom. Now, funny story about this. My buddy Josh, co-founder of the Clone Saga Chronicles podcast, and essentially co-founder of the Spideydude Radio Network, was with that other show, and he did an interview with Dan at San Diego Comic-Con the year that this all came out. And Dan Josh asked a very leading question. Not intentionally, but he's like, so is it Flash? Is Venom and like Dan Slott changed the subject so fast because he knew he couldn't reveal because they were like, who's this new Venom? And of course it is Flash Thompson. For those that don't know, Flash Thompson during Brand New Day lost his legs in a one-shot written by Mark Guggenheim. Barry Kitson was the artist, where one of the best issues of Brand New Day, in my opinion, where they talk about, Flash saving his comrades over in the Middle East, loses both his legs, and so that's kind of the precursor for him getting the Venom symbiote. And the structure of this is interesting because he can only basically use the symbiote for a certain amount of time, and there's a certain amount of attempts that they can bond together with the symbiote before it takes over and the symbiote takes control. Military is trying to take the Venom symbiote and try to use it in a military capacity, of course, as the military often does, and that directly leads to Rick Remender's run on Venom, which is arguably, outside of the King of Black era, I think the two best eras of Venom. And the best Venom starts with this run.
Might have to do that on a binge one day, actually. I mean,
yeah, that'd be a good one.
I'm interested, actually, because I think that this is pretty cool.
It's a really good concept. Friend of the show, Symbio Bro, is a huge... Oh, you got him? I have not been able to find that dude.
Bought it years ago at a Disney store in Tukwila, Washington, when I lived down south.
Select. That's the Marvel Select version.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And
I had a chance to get the Legends, and I put them back on the shelf, and I have not found either that one or Kane, and I'm very upset.
It's been it's a really interesting story. Especially if you read the remainder stuff is really good. I have the whole run. I think I want to say I have it, or I read most of it, because it gets kind of kooky at the end,
as Remender often does.
Remender, he's interesting.
Frankencastle for anybody that wants to talk about some bonkers head.
Well, I will say this. I forgot that that issue was just a standalone, like whatever, the 654.1, whatever the hell it is. Which, by the way, 0.1 issues are dumb as F. I'm sorry. Like, you're just so stupid. Just give us a guide, like, no. Let's make it more confusing. Because people don't need, why does it say LGY 843 on here, but then it has the number 10? Now it's 10.1 LGY 804. It's like, what? Why are we doing this?
The 0.1 issue. Like, I get what the 0.1 initiative was supposed to be. It's supposed
I get the 0.1 issues, but they're pointless. Like, that's the problem.
Yeah.
This is so stupid. Oh my God.
This honestly, you could have put this 0.1 issue as the backup, to split it in half and put it in the back of the first two, parts of this story. And
Zach, how about this? Why don't you just do a effing one shot? It says Venom on it.
I know. It's to sit there and get the Marvel people the
if we put in Amazing Spider-Man, people will buy it, and then they'll be like, "What's this new Venom all about?" And then be like, "The 0.1 issue, what is that?" It's
you have not heard my rant about the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man issue that was essentially just a Juggernaut one shot.
I heard about. I haven't read it yet. I need to read it. Which, as a Juggernaut fan, I should be happy about that. Sorry, everyone. I'm trying to put my toy back without it falling. Come on, Eddie. Or not Eddie. Come on, Flash. Just there you go. Got it. All right, we're good.
Your broken legs.
Yeah. No, but like it's just maddening. I don't have much to. Yeah, that's the one I've heard a lot of bad things about that. Is it Justin Ireland too?
No, it's Christos Gage with Mark Buckingham, which makes me even more mad that this is the first
Hold
time.
on, Christos Gage, who's AKA it was me all along. So makes sense. I still laugh about that. Flash went. He's fell. Poor Flash.
No.
Hopefully he didn't break his legs.
I just I don't have much to say other than because this was basically a glorified Venom first issue,
Right.
and what's
It's
so
basically
stupid,
Whacker in like the letters page of the previous issue, he's like, oh, we're releasing this next week as a jumping on point for people, essentially.
right.
And like a teaser for ASM stuff. And I guess, and the thing is, like, yeah, it's a good intro to this new Flash Venom run that's starting at this time, I would say. So I think it's successful in that regard at the very least.
Here's the I understand.
They make it it's Amazing Spider-Man. What you guys said is valid. Like, oh, it's just kind of they use the numbering is weird, and then they use the brand to basically sell it to people to anyway. Yeah.
Zach had a good point. Why not just make this the backup and you can easily condense this thing down to like 10 pages, in my opinion, like easily. I mean, you have like Flash dancing with someone for like this and to set up that and set up this guy. It's like, and they already have, but here's what's stupid thing too, guys. They had the backup from the one right before it. So it's like, how many do you need? It's like, it just, I understand, like, from a marketing standpoint, put Spider-Man on the name, put the new Venom on the cover. But here's what's the other stupid thing. He doesn't even look like the new Venom. Like, it's just silly. It's just so silly.
Well, that's to like, I feel like that's to subvert people's expectations. Like, oh, what do you mean the new Venom is this cool tactical military guy? Like,
okay.
Like, I thought we were getting this guy, but then he does Venom out and become, the Savage Venom, if you will.
Which again is like the premise of, it's like the whole pitch of the story, which is really interesting, by the way. I actually think that's brilliant. Yeah. But he's not that Venom hardly at all. It's the other guy. Here's what's stupid. Here's what's stupid about that too, because I get what you're saying, but the problem is you need to have, if your character's majority of one thing, like let's say 75% of the time, you're not going to sell the 10-20% as like, this is what we're selling. Like, you need to sell the other part. Here's the other stupid thing from like the whole logic of like, let's use this to offload into the new Venom series. I want what on this cover right here. Okay. On my mark, Zach, put this issue up on my mark, but not yet. On this cover, what does it say about Venom by words? Nothing. There's nothing selling you on this comic book. It says Amazing Spider-Man 654.1. There's no new Venom. There's no find out who the new Venom is. Oh my God, new Venom. Give me some pizzazz, Marvel. But the backup on 654.
Yeah.
What the F? You're telling me you could put the little like a backup of the issue is like, oh, we got new Venom in here, guys. I'm like, okay, yeah, get people excited. That's smart. 654.1 has nothing.
A lifetime supply of nothing.
Make this make sense.
Now, I will say this: I do like the 2-page teaser at the end of the issue that basically teases everything up until like I think Ends of the Earth. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, but this is it's fine. It's a B- story, I think, in my opinion.
I would say that's accurate. Yeah, I'd say
I like that it gave Flash Thompson Spider-Man problems. I thought that was interesting.
It's a very interesting premise, and I think that it does really good at setting up all the pieces so that Remender doesn't have to sit there and do all this.
Right.
He can just kind of say, refer to
I just don't understand why they didn't market it better then.
It's not like, it is a marketing PR no bueno.
This was a complete miss.
Yeah, I know. And trust me, the next 0.1 issue is one of those that I'm like, oh, it's annoying.
I'll just say this. This is probably one of the best 0.1 issues, if I can remember from the top of my head, just because I pretty much dislike 90% of them.
I think this one and like the Gibbon issue from
but that's not Dan Slott. Yeah, I'm talking about this era. See, that makes more sense to me because you're like, oh, we want to dig a little deeper and make a little extra money, but like we're giving me more depth to the story. That makes sense.
This is just, hey, here's a side quest for another title that has nothing to do with Amazing Spider-Man.
Right. And let's not advertise that on the cover at all. Let's just say, here's Spider-Man and Venom.
And it's not even the new Venom. It's the Venom. It's the Venom from the previous. It's the Gargan Venom. Gargan Venom. It's not even the new Venom. It's like they had this cover in the inventory and they were just like, okay, we'll just use it.
That's just what it seems like.
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
Speaking of stuff for next time.
Oh damn.
This is for the coming soon page. Familiar name here at the very top. Ellie Pyle was here back at that point in time. She is now back at Marvel. Steve Wacker is no longer at Marvel. He had left. He'll leave Post Superior, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much.
So the only one that's still there, I think Buckley and Fine are still there.
Brevoort's still there.
Brevoort's the only way Brevoort's leaving is when he decides to retire. So we'll have
which ain't soon enough, in my opinion, right now. And I like Brevoort, by the way. And I think there's just the whole Marvel editorial publication side needs to get completely just.
Yeah. So Amazing Spider-Man 655 will deal with the directly with the after effects of this issue. Then we get the introduction of Massacre, I think, in these next two issues. The Soda Wars are going to be interesting to talk about. And then we'll have the one shot with Johnny Storm, the Fantastic Four, and then 658 kind of leads into the Future Foundation.
I just really want to say the cover for is it 656?
Yeah,
that's a goddamn banger, dude.
Oh yeah,
that is a phenomenal cover. That's Marcus Martin, right?
Yeah, Marcos Martin does the next two issues, and
God. Because this is it Mayhem? Is that his name?
Massacre.
I'm just gonna say this right now. I really enjoyed those issues back then. I have not read them.
Oh boy, we're gonna have a ball of a time. I think,
dude. I think I remember being like I remember listening to the whatever. I mean, I did this a lot when back in the day, being like, "What the hell is the problem?" Like, it's like I like, because dude, this cover.
It's a great look. It's a great cover. It is a great cover. I like this design more now because of the PS4 game and getting to actually like see it in 3D.
And you're away from the echo chamber. Whoops, did I say that out loud?
Oh, so
just saying.
I have grown and evolved, Paul.
No, that's what I'm saying. You're grown and evolved. You're no longer around people who all say the same thing. Anyway, continue.
So it's going to be interesting for me to reread it. I do. These issues led to one of the most hilarious blooper reels on CSC. So I have some fond memories for all the wrong reasons about these issues. So it's going to be interesting for me to reread these for the next episode. So this is going to be the next 4 issues we cover in the next.
I remember really enjoying those. I want to say, was there an alternate cover with Massacre on the cover with a gun?
Yes, that was the second printing. I think. Hang on, let me look.
I want to say I have that. I want to say I have that issue. I have that one for some reason. I don't know why. I thought maybe I had all these covers, but I could have sworn I had that cover too. I don't remember, but
it was not. Let me see if it's in the 657 cover.
Does he show? He doesn't die in this arc, does he? No, because does he come? Wait, he comes back for Superior. That's what I'm thinking of. Superior. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, he's on the cover. He's on the cover of Superior, I believe.
That's what it is. Because Massacre is in. Because I remember being like, I know he has to get the suit because Massacre is like just punishing out. So, it's been So it's, as you can tell, it's been a minute. So, but that makes sense now. Okay, so
yeah, we're gonna be the next the next few issues are going to be very interesting because we get to 659 and 660, and this is like the prelude to Spider Island. And we get,
as someone who likes Dan Slott, I can tell you right now, I'm not looking forward to Spider Island, as you can tell. That is one thing.
That's funny because I feel like a lot of people say that's one of the highlights of his run.
Whoa, no. And maybe I'll read it and be like, God damn, that slaps. But I mean, I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, also in a couple episodes, we'll see the debut of early Giuseppe Camuncoli.
Love Giuseppe.
And we'll see Ryan Stegman's debut on Spider-Man.
Nice.
In the coming issues.
All right. Well,
as well as Riley Brown, which he did the backups for these issues, but he comes back, and I really like Riley Brown. So
yeah. Well, let's wrap this mother up. I think we did a good job, but we all say what? B- for everything is pretty much across the board. Everybody.
Yeah, let's jump through the comments section right now.
Yeah. Oh God, we have to.
We get Peter David wrote some TMT comics that you should read. Apparently.
Okay.
Eric was agreeing with us that he was in the Smythe was in the Scarlet Spider miniseries.
Don't remind me. The Cyber Slayer. Dude, that's gonna be me against like all the online people. Cyber Slayers. That's me.
He talks about the ASM's 368 to 372 Spider Slayer storyline was pretty good. Chris Klaus says that Paul loves The Last Jedi more than The Clown at Midnight.
That's actually probably accurate, to be honest.
Is that from Knights Never Die last week?
Yeah, that's Knights Never Die. Yeah, that's a terrible prose issue.
It's the Rocketeer says, "I'll give up comics before he gives up toys."
That's your prerogative, homie.
Wow,
I will not. Sorry, I'd rather be a part of an amazing medium than just action figures. But that's just me.
Yeah. Oh, that was Chris saying it again. Zach, what did I think of ASM Volume 1 ASM number 1 Volume 7? Gary, you will see my thoughts in a couple of weeks because whenever ASM 2 comes out, we're gonna do ASM there. So, and yes, I am working on passing. He asked if I was passing the kidney stone right now, and he's like, "Oh my god, I was kidding." Gary, Sam Roberts, Adam the Locker Man, and the myth visionary, the legend, Mr. Paul Hermann. Sam Roberts, especially with it being WrestleMania week. That Brian, thank you. Still trying to get into Marvel, but I recall reading the first few hardcovers of Brand New Day and enjoyed Slott's writing. Slott the person should be under psychiatric care, but his Spider-Man is cool. Damn. Hello, Duke the Legend. Remember when Big Time announced? Haven't read it, but he was going all out. You're a monster, Zach. I remember trying to remember if I read that one. Not me waking up to a live show. Thanks, buddy. Let me log into the ring, Zach. I want to fight for Spider Island's honor.
God.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
You have my spot. I'm kidding. I'm in it for the long haul.
But listen, Spider Island, I have a lot of mixed feelings about.
Let's save those mixed feelings.
We'll save them. So, all right, boys. As always, when we do these episodes with the Spideydude Experience, we always got to talk about our patrons over at patreon.com/Spideydude Network. Allison, Cindy, Ed, Georgia, Greg, Janelle, Jessica, Jurgen, Catherine, Kale, Laura Howard, Lump Moose, Master Drama, Phoenician, Scott, Vanessa, Vicky, and Winnipeg Webhead. Thank you guys for your support over on the Patreon as sensational tier patrons. And of course, we have our Sarah and Tara duo of spectacular patrons. You see the friendly neighborhood patrons up on the screen. I will do the audio only shout outs in a little bit. And the VIPs, Vinkman and Walter and Scott. Thank you guys for your support over on the Patreon page, patreon.com, where you get exclusive stuff like Books of X coming very soon. We're going to have me, Ashley, and Neil talking a bit more about Krakoan era of X-Men. Stay tuned for more with Greg Weisman talking about Spectacular Spider-Men to kind of give us another special episode. We're working on that as we speak. If you've not already checked out the Ultimate Spideydude Experience, where we talk about each and every month the Ultimate Spider-Man comic, which is the best Spider-Man comic on the stands right now, in my opinion. Certainly check those out. Of course, if you're watching us over on Paul's page, you got to come like and subscribe. Things like Voices from the Eerie, Amazing Spider-Man Classics, Clone Saga Chronicles, Salby Cinema Era podcast has some new episodes up. As always, you got to follow at the Comic Binge, or no, at Binge Comic on Twitter, right?
It's Binge Comic on X, formerly Twitter, and also on Blue Sky. If you want to go on that route, or Instagram, if you just do Comic Binge, you'll see the logo. You can find it. It's legit, you know. Where it's been a little slower for me lately for whatever reason. Just things got kind of haywire. But I mean, I just booked my buddy Zach, my other buddy Zach, to do a Sentry episode for before the Thunderbolt. I totally forgot about. I was like, I had a free week, and I'm like, what the hell am I just gonna? I thought I was gonna have nothing to show up, and then I'm like, wait a minute, Sentry book. I haven't read it. I've read a bunch of other Sentry comics, but not the original OG one. I have it,
the Paul Jenkins one.
Yeah, this one. Let me look this up. One right here. So I've actually never read this. So I've been wanting to read it for a long time, and never had a chance to kind of a reason to read it. So now I have
some of Salby Cinema's last pencils in interior books.
He did like the flashback scenes. Nice. Yeah, I'm Sentry is a character. We're probably going to go into not just a story, but like probably Sentry as a character overall, you know, and kind of like how he's evolved and everything. And because there's also a fantastic Jeff Lemire miniseries that he did right before. It's only like 5 years ago. It's not very long ago, and people kind of forgot about it. He like revamped the character.
Yeah.
And then they kind of went back, and I think King in Black happened, and they like killed him off or something.
You know, shit happens.
Yeah, basically. So.
Yeah. So if you want to follow us on the Spideydude Radio Network, go find us at Spideydude Radio on Twitter/X, at Spideydude Network on Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, TikTok, everywhere.
TikTok? Nice.
TikTok. The Twitter, TikTok, you know, I'm just kidding. Spideydude Radio Network at Spideydude Radio Network on YouTube. Find us over there. If you want to leave us a voicemail for all the shows on the Spideydude Radio Network and associated with it, you can leave us a voicemail, 818-925-6631. Please, somebody else besides Walter, leave me a voicemail. Love you, Walter. And you can always leave me an email at SpideyRadioNetwork@gmail.com. We will, any and all feedback we will read on future episodes. Thank you guys for watching. If you're watching us live or after the fact, and if you're listening to us on the audio edition, thank you guys for listening as well. So we will see you next time here on the Slott Symposium.
Posium.